A mother storms in. A marriage cracks. And secrets. They are finally cornered. This is not just family drama, this is war. And the silence. It speaks louder than lies. Stay with me, because what you're about to witness, will change everything. When Miss Wanda walked in, the truth had nowhere left to hide. Marriages were tested, lies exposed, and the calm before the storm. Long gone. What went down next was not just reality TV, it was real. LaTisha says her marriage is solid. Marsau says nothing. Wanda says, "Try me." And the rest of us, grabbing popcorn because this mess is just getting started. This episode kicked off with serious energy. Montel was singing about a young woman, setting the mood, but the real fire started when Miss Wanda showed up. From the look on her face, you just knew she came with a purpose. She hugged her daughter LaTisha, but it was clear she was not here to play. She had things to say, and she was going to say them loud and clear. LaTisha and her husband Marsau have been holding on tight to the story of their 20-year marriage like it is a trophy. Every chance they get, they remind everyone that they have been together the longest out of anyone in the Scott family. Marsau himself said it with pride, like their years alone prove something. But let's be honest, anyone watching can tell there is more to the story, because the minute Miss Wanda walked into the room, Marsau's whole energy shifted. That proud look he had earlier, gone, replaced by a face that screamed panic. It was like someone told him the building was on fire. He looked like he wanted to grab his keys, pack a bag, and run far away. And let's not pretend we did not notice. The tension hit the air like a thunderstorm. Wanda didn't waste even a second. She came in with purpose, sat herself right next to Marsau, and immediately made it clear that this was not going to be a friendly chat. The way Marsau reacted was almost funny. He jumped right up and turned to face her like he was gearing up for a boxing match. "I need to face my enemies," he said out loud, trying to make light of the moment. But in reality, he was rattled. In his confessional, Marsau tried to laugh it off. He said, "Looks like the good Lord gave me another battle. This time, it's my law." Now, it was a joke, but it also hit way too close to home. You could tell he was feeling the pressure. Wanda, after all, is not the kind of woman who backs down. She came with questions, with accusations, and with a full suitcase of attitude. From the moment she sat down, it was clear Wanda had something to say, and she was not leaving until she said it all. She looked Marsau dead in the eyes and asked the hard questions about that video, about what he's really doing, and about how he treats her daughter. Marsau, like usual, danced around every answer. He used his clever one-liners and tried to joke his way out of it. But Wanda wasn't having it. Not today. The way she stared him down, the way she asked those questions, it was like watching a lawyer cross-examine someone in court. "Why don't you like Marsau?" she asked herself out loud. "Because of the way he talks to you. See, he thinks he's smart. But I got him. I know him. If he says something I don't like, I'm coming." For him, that was not a threat. That was a promise. Wanda made it crystal clear she was going to protect LaTisha no matter what. And Marsau better get his act together fast. The whole thing was uncomfortable to watch, but also impossible to turn away from. Wanda said what many viewers have been thinking for years. Marsau might talk smooth, but he is not always honest. And when it comes to taking responsibility, he dodges it like a professional. Wanda wasn't impressed, and honestly, neither were we. LaTisha, bless her heart, tried to calm things down. She told her mom not to do that, maybe once, maybe twice. But in her confessional, LaTisha painted a totally different picture. She said she and Marsau have their own special way of communicating. She said he has always protected her and been there for her. She talked about their bond like it was something magical, something unbreakable. But come on, we've all been watching. For years, we've seen Marsau act like a husband who shows up when it's convenient and disappears when things get hard. And it is not just the audience who sees it. Even their own circle, Morris, Kimmy, and Martel have all cracked jokes about Marsau not being the most dependable husband. So when LaTisha says she trusts him completely, it makes you wonder. Maybe therapy has helped them. Maybe they are trying to grow. But words alone are not enough anymore. We want to see the change, not just hear about it in a confessional. Meanwhile, Marsau keeps playing it cool, using charm and sarcasm to cover up the fact that he's under real pressure. He's used to talking his way out of things, but Wanda wasn't buying it. And neither were the viewers. That moment when Marsau stood up to face his enemies will probably be replayed over and over. Not because it was funny, but because it showed something real. Marsau is afraid of the truth getting out. He is scared of being held accountable. And Wanda. She is not backing down until she gets the answers she came for. So while LaTisha holds on to her fairy tale version of marriage, and Marsau keeps pretending everything's fine, the truth is starting to leak through the cracks. And with Miss Wanda around, you can bet those cracks are only going to get bigger. The storm has just begun and this was only the first wave. What came next was not just a conversation. It was a full-blown showdown. The tension that had been bubbling finally exploded into a heated back and forth, and the show gave us every second of it. We got a dramatic montage of Wanda and Marsau locked in what felt more like a courtroom than a family sit-down. Both were ready, both had things to say, and neither was going to back down. It was fiery, emotional, and downright unforgettable. Wanda was not holding back, not for one moment. She looked Marsau straight in the eye and asked the question that had been sitting in her chest for a long time. Why don't you like Marsau? But she was not really asking anyone. She was answering it herself. It's the way he talks to you, she said, turning to LaTisha. You could tell from her voice that this was not just about one moment. It was about years of watching, worrying, and wondering what her daughter had been putting up with behind closed doors. Then Wanda turned the heat all the way up. You think you're smart, huh? She snapped at Marsau. I know your type. If you say something I don't like, I'm coming for you. The room froze. Her voice was calm but sharp, and you could tell she meant every single word. It was not just about protecting LaTisha, it was about making sure Marsau understood that she was not going to stay quiet anymore. That line right there. That was the moment the energy in the room shifted completely. It got even deeper when Wanda reminded Marsau that as long as she was alive, he was not going to hurt her daughter. And that was not an empty statement. That was a mother's warning, a clear message. She was willing to step into the fire if it meant keeping LaTisha safe. That kind of love. You could feel it. But Wanda was not just speaking from emotion, she had real questions. She kept pressing about that video. Yes, that one. The mysterious clip that had people talking. The one where folks swore they saw Marsau with another woman. Wanda brought it up directly. She did not dance around it. She asked Marsau again and again to tell the truth. Who was the woman in that video? She wanted to know. But Marsau, he dodged it every single time. Not once did he give her a real answer. He stayed cool, calm, and full of his usual smooth talk. But Wanda was not impressed. She saw straight through it. You're embarrassing this family, she told him. You need to take responsibility. Her voice cracked slightly, but her words were strong. She was tired of the lies. Tired of the silence. Tired of watching her daughter cry behind smiles. Wanda looked him dead in the face and said, if you didn't do it, just say it. That was her challenge, her test. But Marsau, instead of clearing the air, came back with one of his classic lines. One of those clever little responses that sound smart but say nothing. She asked again what his answer was, and he said one word, nothing, and that right there. That was the problem. His silence said more than any words could. Wanda had asked a simple question. She had given him a chance to clear his name, to prove the rumors wrong, to take accountability, and instead, he said nothing. In that moment, the room felt heavy. LaTisha looked stuck in the middle, trying to hold on to both sides. You could almost hear her heart break a little. Wanda, though, did not flinch. Her eyes stayed locked on Marsau. Her voice never wavered. She knew what was happening here. She had seen it before. A man trying to outtalk a truth that is already written on his face. A man trying to act like silence is strength, when really it is fear. She wanted answers, and Marsau gave her nothing but clever lines and blank stares. And the viewers at home, we felt it too. Every moment of that argument, every second of that silence, it was real, it was raw. It was the kind of family tension that goes beyond just drama for the cameras. This was a mother fighting for her daughter, a husband dodging the truth, a marriage hanging in the balance, and a room full of people trying to act like everything was fine when it clearly was not. Even the way Wanda leaned in, the way she held her ground, you could tell she had waited a long time for this moment. She was not yelling just to yell. She was speaking from years of hurt, years of watching from the sidelines, years of being told to mind her business. Well, now she was in the center of it. And she was not going anywhere. By the time the scene ended, you could feel the tension still hanging in the air. Marsau stayed cool, but that nothing he said echoed louder than anything else. Wanda had shown up ready for answers. But all she got was silence, and that silence said everything she needed to know. LaTisha tried her best to calm the storm. "Mama, please don't do that," she said softly, repeating it with the kind of tone only a daughter can use when stuck between the two people she loves most. She wanted peace, but the tension in the room was already too heavy. Still, LaTisha kept her cool. In her confessional, she shared a much softer version of the story. She painted her marriage with warmth, saying that she and Marsau have their own unique way of communicating, and that despite what people think, Marsau has always been there for her. But for anyone watching, it was hard to fully believe those words. The truth is, viewers have seen cracks in this picture-perfect marriage for years. Even their closest friends Morris, Kimmy, and Martel have thrown shade at Marsau, joking about how he acts like a husband when it suits him and disappears when it does not. So now, when LaTisha calls him a protector, it feels a bit off. Not because she is lying, but because what we see and what she says do not always match. Maybe therapy is helping them work through things. Maybe they are learning how to better understand each other. But in the end, it is not the sweet words or the quotes from counseling that matter most. It is what a person actually does. Actions speak louder than anything else. And right now, everyone's watching to see what Marsau will do next. Will he step up and prove LaTisha right? Or will he keep dodging the hard questions while she keeps holding on to hope? One thing is clear. This story is far from over. Later, things shifted to Maurice and Kimmy. They were with their son, Monster, who is growing up fast. He looks more like Kimmy every day. Morris tried to turn a serious moment into a life lesson. He brought up the situation about drinking and driving, trying to talk about gossip and rumors, but Monster seemed over it. He just wanted to leave. Morris tried to have a heart-to-heart with Monster, but it just did not land the way he probably hoped. He kept asking if people at school were teasing him or saying anything behind his back, but Monster stayed mostly silent. His answers were short, and his face said it all. He did not really want to be part of the conversation. It felt awkward, like the whole talk was being forced instead of coming from a real, caring place. Then Morris suddenly switched topics and brought up something Chris had mentioned earlier, something about side chicks and ND. The way Morris talked about it, he made it sound like people were just trying to drag him and Marsau through the mud for no reason. But his tone was strange. He kept acting like he did not know all the details, which came off as fake. Because, let's be honest, he clearly knows exactly what happened. He just didn't want to admit it on camera. He tried to sound wise and confident as he wrapped up the conversation by saying, "People lie, but when the truth comes out, they go quiet." Sure, it sounded deep, but when you really think about it, that quote avoided everything. He never once looked into the camera and said, "I didn't drink and drive." Instead, he just said the charges were dropped. And that's not the same thing. Dropping charges does not always mean someone is innocent. It just means there was not enough evidence to move forward. So now, viewers are left wondering, is he hiding something? Or just trying to protect his image? Either way, it was clear Morris talked a lot, but said very little. And people definitely noticed. Kimmy stayed quiet about the details. In her confessional, she just said she was glad things worked out. After that, she switched gears and talked about work. She's back to real estate full-time and showed off a big 30,000 square foot property. Maurice looked proud and told her he always believed in her. At least that moment felt real. Kimmy finally talked about her new restaurant on Jordan Lane and even shared its name on air. But the real moment came when she teased Marsau about how slow he was moving on Scott Manor. We all saw the joke, but let's be honest, we know there's some truth behind it. Then came a shocker. Kimmy revealed that Chris Fletcher accused Marsau and Morris of making side chicks sign NDAs. Yes, NDAs. So, Kimmy asked Morris straight up, had he ever done that? His answer, "I never had anyone sign an NDA," but Kimmy pointed out that this wasn't the right answer. She said, the correct response is you never had a side chick. They both laughed, but that laugh did not feel right. It felt nervous, like they knew they were caught up in something they didn't want to explain. Then came the deeper issue, Kimmy's old tension with Nell Fletcher. A few seasons ago, Kimmy told Nell to stay out of meetings about the comeback group and 47 acres. Nell replied that she was invited, and even said Stormy was there too. Kimmy told her to stop right then and there. From the way Kimmy looked at Nell, you could tell she still does not like her. In this episode, we saw that tension come back when Chris and Nell showed up. Nell snapped and said Kimmy should mind her business and keep her family's issues out of her mouth. It was clear she felt targeted. She yelled, You can't keep my name out of your mouth. And things almost got out of hand. Then the topic shifted to grandkids. Chris Jr. and Lance, their sons, both had babies, so Chris and Nell are now grandparents. But Nell's red wig with bangs and a ponytail was a bold choice. She's a beautiful woman, but the wig was not doing her any favors. Chris and Nell talked about how grandkids were taking all their time. Chris hinted they were missing their usual date nights, but Nell quickly shut it down, saying, being a grandparent doesn't cause problems in a marriage. Then Chris mentioned Martell Holt was coming over. Nell's face changed instantly, she was not happy. Martell was the same guy who had her all over blogs after that photo of him and Ariane at the Polo Classic. Nell told him directly she felt like he set her up. Martell denied it, but the way he coughed and stumbled over his words said otherwise. Even Chris and Nell looked down like they knew he wasn't telling the truth. Nell asked again if he set her up, and Martell repeated the same line. I wouldn't do that. Nell made it clear she still didn't believe him, but she was choosing to let it go. For now. But it did not stop there. They brought up a video interview where LaTisha claimed Martell had something going on with a man named Frank back in college. Things got messy fast. Martell denied everything and kept repeating his new catchphrase, no one will lie about me again. Then came the most awkward scene of all, Martell talking to Destiny. It felt fake, like a bad school play. There was no real connection, just forced lines and awkward smiles. Martell even said he might marry Orion one day if she finishes nursing school and gets herself together. Destiny smiled and nodded, but you could tell she didn't believe him. Martell tried to say he had not always treated Orion well, but now he wanted to make things right. He called her a good mom and a good woman, but it all sounded rehearsed. Destiny gave him some advice, reminding him not to hurt others just because he was hurt. She brought up how bad things got online when people came for him, but Martell didn't want to hear it. He stood firm and said, I'm not stopping. No one's going to lie on me anymore. Let's be real, this whole mess started because Martell broke the agreement he had with Morris and Marsau. They promised not to expose each other's cheating, but Martell pulled out his second phone and broke that deal, starting all this drama. Now he's mad that people are firing back. Come on, Martell, you started this. You lit the match. Now you're upset the fire is burning you. As for the rest, the Scotts are dodging questions. Morris keeps dancing around the truth. And Missy looks like she's one argument away from walking out. Things are heating up fast, and the tension is getting harder to ignore. LaTisha is still holding on to her marriage with nothing but therapy, quotes, and a little bit of hope. She is trying to make it work, even when everything around her is falling apart. And just when you think the drama could not get any messier, boom, Martell drops one last bomb. He ends the episode by asking if Lance had a baby on Destiny. Yes, you heard that right. That is how the scene ends. No warning. Just chaos. If you made it to the end of this wild ride, drop a woo child in the comments and tell me whose side are you on? This episode gave us everything, and the drama is only picking up. Trust me, what's coming next? Even crazier. Keep watching because we are just getting started.